If you've been in business for a bit and you still aren't reaching those 5 and 6 figure consistent months or hitting your revenue goals, there's a reason why, and you need to be diagnosing the right problem to solve it. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 396. And today we're going to talk about the 3M method for diagnosing why your business isn't reaching your revenue goals and hitting better momentum. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. What if the reason that you haven't yet got to consistent 5 and 6 figure revenue months literally is you're solving the wrong problem? Hey, I'm Melanie Benson. I am an authority amplifier, and this is a special series of my Amplify Your Success podcast. We're focusing on what I call my 3M method, and that is uncovering and diagnosing where things are maybe what they aren't, what they shouldn't be, the monetization strategy, the messaging, and your mindset. And when we get those things right, really your business should be in momentum. And when they're not aligned and they're not fully turbocharged, often this is the hidden reason that you're not at the goals for your business. So I'm going to go through a series of unpacking really tricky areas of business growth, things that are often in our blind spot, and share a couple proven strategies that I've stumbled into over the last 20 plus years in business. And these are things that I use in my own business and focus on with my clients in $1 Million Visibility Mastermind, as well as my 100K Authority Accelerator, which is my signature program. So get ready, watch either here on video, or you can catch this in my podcast if you're more of a listener than a watcher. I want you to really dial into what is it that is going on for your business if you have not been able to hit the goals. Oftentimes it's in your blind spot. So let's see if we can unpack what that blind spot is. Now, kind of exciting news is for the podcast, we're about ready to hit 400 episodes. And that's a great milestone in podcast worlds today, because so many people pod fade and they don't even make it past 12 episodes. And I know it's a big commitment and it's an investment, and I'm very proud of my team and what we've accomplished here. So yay. But this will help us commemorate a bit of the 400 episodes that we've reached as we go, yes, okay, what do business owners really need to tune into? So let's talk about what my 3M method is. 3M stand for monetization, messaging, and mindset. And this, in my experience, is what gets us into the 5 and 6 figure consistent months, that momentum that so many business owners are missing out on. So let's talk a little bit first about monetization. Now, monetization basically means you have a way to monetize your effort. You have a way to monetize the things you're doing to be seen in the world. So I call it $1 Million Visibility, but ultimately it's whatever you're doing for lead generation, how you're getting your brand out there, how you're letting people know what you do. There's a lot of different elements to $1 Million Visibility, but theoretically, you should have a way to be visible so that people can buy what you do. And when they buy what you do, you need to have something that can produce the revenue levels. Now, this might sound super simple, but when I'm diagnosing, and sometimes people hire me to do what I call a $1 Million money map, and it's literally just a strategy session. We can do it as a one-day VIP or a shorter, really concise in a 90-minute session. And what I find is that monetization is not clear. Either they're undercharging, or they don't necessarily have a revenue roadmap that can produce their goals. So they're kind of shooting in the dark. There's a lot of winging it. Now, sometimes this is because they've been doing something the same way for a really long time and it stopped working. Sometimes they just maybe don't have the confidence to package and price what the market will bear, and they're kind of nervous about shit changing what they do, which I get, because you don't want to rock the apple cart. Is that the right metaphor? I think so. But the idea here is that you have a strong, relevant, and here's the key, irresistible signature offer, along with at least some type of continuity and at least one premium package. Now, let me go a little bit deeper into that. A signature offer is basically something that you focus on in your marketing to pull people in. Now, depending on the type of business you are, in the digital world, if you're more doing digital packages, this might be something around a $500 to $2,000 package. I like to focus more in the services world. It's not that I don't work with people around products and digital marketing, but my superpowers really come alive when we're dealing with coaching businesses, consulting, training, and we're looking at how do I package what I do and sell it. And I have a process. Oh my God, I love this so much when the light bulbs go off for my clients, where we go through this process and all of a sudden people can see why they haven't been making the revenue goals, because they've been significantly undercharging. I just did this with a client in 100K at the accelerator, the current cohort, and this person was charging like maybe 30% of what the market would bear. And we go through this as a group. And so this client, I'm not gonna say who it is because then you would know it, and I don't want to disclose any confidences, but this person was holding themselves back because they didn't believe that their market would pay what really was the value of their work. And I've been doing this a really long time, and I spend a lot of money with my own coaches and with training and like investing in masterminds, and I know what's going on out there. And we all were like, you are way undercharging. So even just giving this person the confidence to repackage what they were doing and to deliver it in a way that could increase the value was like a major aha and win. Now, here's why I say you need all three of these kinds of offers. And you might have some other things, but we're going to get to that a little bit later. People, your audience, your potential clients don't all buy and consume the same way. Now, one part of that is as you get to know your ideal client and their avatar, you may start to recognize that I only want to work with this kind of person, and this is how they buy, this is what they're looking for. And you may just decide to have high standards and say, I'm not compromising and doing anything smaller than a $30,000 package. And that's fine. I have a client who her offerings start at 10,000 and go up. Like that's all she wants to work with. And it works for her business. Like she's very successful. I have another client who she has some smaller packages, like her irresistible signature offer. Her starting point has been around 2,000. We just bumped it up to a $4,500 package. And then she has packages that are 25,000. And that is where the revenue starts to grow. Now, if you don't have those kind of packages yet, I don't want you to get in your head and go, okay, this isn't going to work for me. Stay with me, because there is a way to make everything work for everyone. You just have to really understand what you're working with. So first of all, people don't all buy and consume the same way. So you need to understand who your ideal client is, how they consume, what they need, what's going to get them to move from being interested to being invested in working with you. Okay, so in my experience, the way I design signature offers, that first step is they're shorter in duration and focused on one very hot, super valuable solution that your ideal clients are craving right now. There's a lot of ways to get to that. And again, it can be one-on-one, it can be a group. A group is really great because then you can really leverage your time and your build wealth faster that way. And for many people, the group experience helps them get more value out of the process they're learning anyway. Now, continuity should continue the signature offer relationship and help them implement, help create accountability, help keep them in your orbit, so to speak, continue to enhance what they learned at the first step, and keep adding value that makes them want to stay with you, right? So I have a friend, her name's Megan Huber, and she specializes in client experiences and retention. And one of the things she always says is that relationships or sorry, that continuity has to be having some kind of a client journey that has to have a beginning, it has to have value, and it has to have a reason for them to stay. And that this is where real profit comes from, because it is so much cheaper to keep your current clients happy and keep them engaged and keep them working with you than it is to acquire a new client, which is totally true, especially when you consider what Facebook ads and Google ads and traveling about to win over new clients by speaking, whatever you're doing, that is the more expensive side, right? Now, the third type of offer is a premium or high ticket. And now I'm talking in generalities here. Just know that all of this needs to be customized to you. I am not a cookie cutter, one size fits all type of mentor. I truly believe you have to figure out what's the intersection of where your superpowers are, what your clients need and what they will invest in, and how do you deliver what it is that you have to offer in a way that makes this a no-brainer investment. So when I'm talking about premium or high ticket, what I'm talking about is this is kind of like that next level. We're talking 8,000, 10,000, 20,000, something that's higher. Because here's the thing, I have had group programs for 18 years, maybe 19 years, somewhere around there. And there will always be people who the group experience is not what they want. And they're willing to pay a premium price. They're willing to invest more to have more direct access to you. So I want you to think about, do you have a premium access or a higher ticket offer? Now, there's a lot of reasons why that high ticket works. Like it could be one-to-one. It could be that there's some exclusivity. Like in my $1 Million Visibility Mastermind, it's more about exclusivity and more access, right? It's not more stuff. It's the positioning and the energy of that level of working together with the handpicked people that I bring into that program. So you need to have some premium or high ticket. Now, why I say this is, especially right now in our market, premium can sometimes sell faster than other levels. Like even small packages sometimes don't sell as well. Again, it has to do with, you have to know who your audience is. So all of this with a big caveat or the little asterisk, know your ideal client, know your ideal audience, know what's going to move the lever for them right now, and build programs that they need. If you've had the same program for a really long time and it's not selling, this is your focus point, okay? So you need a strong, relevant, irresistible offer. Let's talk about the second M, messaging. Okay, so messaging, gosh, I've had a crazy relationship with messaging. This was not my superpower for a really long time. And something just clicked one day and all of a sudden I got it. And I worked with a lot of mentors and paid people a lot of money to help me copyright. And then it just took. And so if messaging is not your superpower, just know I'm with you. I feel you. I love supporting people who that is not their superpower, because like it's not everybody's muscle, right? So and also it's very hard to do your own messaging. I get that. But here's the key about messaging and why this may be the very reason why what you're doing isn't performing at the level you're hoping for. Your messaging has to evolve with the market. Your messaging has to stay relevant, has to stay fresh, it has to stay enticing to the people you want to serve. Because here's what's happening out there. As the world shifts, as programs change, as people change and evolve, their sophistication does too. And their what they resonate with and what they relate to changes. And what I see happening in our market right now is a massive swing from people responding to hype and more over the top marketing and bold claims and big promises to being more discerning. They're looking for, especially more evolved clients, people who are a little further along in their journey, they're looking for connection. They're looking for authenticity. They're looking for vulnerability. And so your messaging has to meet them where they are. Now, again, if you're dealing with corporations, there's a little caveat to that as well. You need to understand the type of corporations that you're speaking to and where their pain points are. So messaging is solving a problem and leading them to a promise or an outcome. That's really what messaging is, and using the language and the energy of the person you want to attract. So what happens is, if you don't feel comfortable with messaging, you're probably making one or two key mistakes. And we're going to unpack this a lot more in one of the upcoming episodes in the special series. You're either getting really wrapped up in your excitement about your work, and you're literally creating messaging you resonate with. And oftentimes what that means is you're talking about your features, the things that you do. And here's a huge awareness, if you don't already know this: people don't buy features until they know they want to work with you, until they know that they have a problem and they want to solve the problem, and that they're going to solve the problem with you. Then they want to know the features, because then, the detail, part of their brain kicks in. They're like, okay, so what is it that I need? In all the work I do, especially with impact-driven experts and consultants and coaches and trainers, your passion comes out like a fire hose in your messaging, and you're blowing your community away with too much information about what you're passionate about, and you're not building a bridge between their world and yours. That's the bottom line. They need a bridge between their reality they're in right now and your possibility. And you have to get really good at doing that. That's why I love what I do in 100K at the Accelerator. And I know I'm kind of talking about my programs here, but I really just want you to know where some of this comes to life, in case you're resonating with this and you're like, Melanie, like, okay, I need to solve this. I want you to not have to wait for 6 episodes to get solutions. We can talk about what you need. Just feel free to drop a message in the comments, or you can reach out wherever you listen to this, or you can always head over to my melaniebenson.com and just shoot me a message. But my point is, this is what we do: is we get people crystal clear. Who are you? What do you do? What are you about? What is the solution? And what is the outcome when somebody implements that solution? And then design the messaging so that your ideal clients feel themselves in your words, because that's what they want. That's what gets them to go from, oh, I'm in la la land suffering, and I don't even know what my problem is, to making a decision to say yes. So messaging is critical, and it's often a blind spot because you're so used to looking at your work and you're so used to talking about your work. When I do consults with people, boom, I can quickly tell if messaging is the problem, and that is where we need to lean in to solve, because of the way they talk about their work. Okay, so messaging is number 2. Now let's get to number 3 of the 3M method. And that's mindset, because you can have the best monetization strategy and the best messaging. You can be highly visible. Well, actually, you may not be highly visible if you don't have the right mindset, because that's number 3 is mindset. Mindset, let's face it, mindset is the spark plug of a business owner's success. And the right strategies without the right mindset and you really being plugged in, you're going to feel like things are clunking. You're going to have lots of obstacles. You're going to feel like there's a massive amount of overwhelm, because your patterns show up in basically your unhealthy patterns show up in the way you run a business. Your wounds and your trauma show up in the way you choose to run a business, in your decisions, in your beliefs, in your ideas of what it is that you know is possible. Let me tell you, I have done all the mindset work actually for 30 years I've been doing mindset work. I have trained as a spiritual counselor. I have done advanced neurolinguistic programming training. I am accredited to teach. I have gone through all the coach training. And let me tell you, mindset still is something that I have to be very aware of, because I have really significant trauma from my childhood. I have wounds. I have what we call micro traumas that compounded over and over and over again. And look, I am no different than a majority of people. Many of us who are impact driven, we do this because we had a trauma. We had something happened that caused us to heal to a certain level and want to help others heal too. Okay. Many entrepreneurs are fueled by their pain, by their unresolved trauma and wounds, right? Like, I'm probably not speaking anything you don't already know, but the problem is that at a certain level, we believe we are healed. We believe we can function, because let's face it, we're mostly high functioning individuals. But that unhealed trauma starts to act like hidden barriers. It starts to become belief systems that act like barriers instead of bridges. And you will convince yourself that certain things are not possible. You will hold yourself back. The private conversations I have with some of the most extraordinary entrepreneurs are them confessing their deepest wound and pain. There's shame moments where they're like, I'm holding myself back because I still have this story going on in my head that something bad's going to happen, or that people are going to judge me, or that those people that experienced that shame with me 10 years ago or 20 years ago are going to come back and tell me I'm a loser. We all have something. My point here is this: you have to have the capacity to be successful at this level. And if you have unhealed stuff, chances are your mindset, your beliefs, your ideas, your decision making is holding you back. So you got to get that resolved. And this is one of the areas that I do work with my clients on, because all three of the M's have to come together so that you can experience that fourth outcome, the fourth M, which is momentum. Okay. If your mindset is clogged up, you've got one foot on the brakes and one foot on the gas. That's the way it is. So your job, if you're really leaning into this and you're like, oh yes, this is good, I want this, the 3 M's to resolve or identify and then dissolve the hidden barriers, is for you to make sure that you got the monetization strategy in place. Make sure that your messaging is totally clear and designed to spark intrigue and interest from your ideal clients. Your messaging is everything from the words you put on social media to how you describe your programs, what you name things, to what you say when you're being interviewed or you're hosting a webinar, right? It goes across everything. And then the mindset. You got to get your mindset to be expansive and to be willing and to be tuned into who do I need to be to sustain a high 6, a 7, or an 8-figure, whatever you're shooting for. You've got to have the mindset in place for that. Okay. And part of this is deciding you're all in. So I want to hear from you. Like, are you all in? Okay. If you're not, what's going to happen is you're going to be distracted. You're going to just pursue what you're interested, but there doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be connection to your goals. You're going to feel like you're overwhelmed. You're going to possibly feel emotional and in doubt all the time. You're going to be on this roller coaster of up and down. Today, I want to quit. Tomorrow, I'm all in, right? And trust me, I've been on that. So I know you need to plug into the 3 M's and get momentum. And that's what we're going to do together. Think of this like a coaching series that's going to guide you on a path for the next few weeks to plug you into the superpower of $1 million visibility, monetized and actualized so that you can generate that next level. Okay. So that means you got to be committed, means you got to be all in, means you've got to commit to getting a plan in place. You got to get your $1 million visibility strategy in place. You got to have a monetization game plan. If you don't have that, we definitely need to talk. And you need to have the systems in place to execute on the day-to-day operations that drive results. Okay, so here's your job. Over the next few weeks, I want you to keep a little notepad, and I would like for you to keep track of what's in my way. What do I know I could be doing or should be doing that I'm not? Okay, because I'm going to unpack this 3M method, and I'm going to identify the key areas where I've been coaching people on where 5-figure and early 6-figure business owners are getting in their own way and feeling blocked from getting into that consistent 6- and 7-figure monthly revenue. Okay, because I want to help you make the second half of this year tremendously successful. Or if you're listening to this later, whenever you're listening to it, I want you to have a game plan so you can achieve massive success and impact the lives of millions. I have a mission to transform the lives of 10,000 women and men who are feeling like the invisible expert. They're not actualizing their message. They're not getting their voice out there in the world. And it's just simply, they've got some pretty common blocks. So that's my mission. That's why I'm doing this. I want to know what your mission is and what are you committed to. So if you're watching the video series, then we'll be dropping the next series every week, usually on Tuesdays. If you are an Amplify Your Success podcast listener, the episodes drop a week later on the podcast, and I can't wait to hear your takeaways. Next up, we're doing a deep dive into stealth growth barriers that are silently holding you hostage in 5 or 6 figure years instead of months, and ultimately leaving you overwhelmed and doubting that you can make it to that next level business. So we'll unpack that next week. And last, I will be dropping in the show notes, if you're listening to the podcast, or in the comments if you're on video, where you can find some of the resources and access next steps with me. If that's something that you're feeling inspired by and you want to go exploring, we'll make sure you know how to take some next steps with me. Okay, if you have loved this episode, whether you're watching a video, you're watching, or you're listening on the podcast, would you share it? Let's get some people in your circle the right answers to the solution, to the problems they've been experiencing, and give them better solutions. All right. So we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.